Welcome back to the Orange Bumper Podcast. I'm Philip Dixon. My sidekick, as always, Burt Myers. This week we've got a very special guest, a long-time friend of yours and mine as well, Ben Gable. Ben, we'd like to welcome you to the Orange Bumper Podcast.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
We're glad to have you. I know just in the workups to us actually starting this, we've been through about 27 different filters. And
yeah.
I look forward to this one. This is going to be really good. And we're going to do a deep dive on you. I've always called Ben the international man of mystery, and we'll kind of get into that in a little bit. But before we do, quick race recap from Caraway. Pretty good weekend for you.
The way it's been lately, we had a really good weekend.
Car looked really good. You were moving, and you know the track looked like there was a lot of kind of questions around it after the flooding and everything, but car looked good, man.
We it's funny how you can go back to the setup that you know worked last time and it not work this time. And as racers, that's just something that you deal with, and how you adapt to that and the changes you make for that is what makes you good or not. But you can go test, especially somewhere like Caraway, you can go test one day, go back the very next day, and the car be totally different. So when you get a 45-minute practice session to try to get dialed in, makes it tough. Well, Saturday, we had some changes that we were going to make, and we did some wholesale changes on the car during the week. And I said, well, I'm going to go out, I'm going to run 5 laps, I'm going to come in and do this. Well, I go out and run 5 laps, I come in, poured down rain. Well, it didn't pour down rain. The first time it sprinkled rain, they stopped practice. Track's ready again. I could get my helmet on, getting ready to go out. The bottom falls out. So we got 5 laps of practice. So the changes that we wanted to make, we never got to do. So we just kind of guessed at it, ended up qualifying second. And that's been our problem lately. It seems like late in the run on used tires, we're as fast as the leaders, but we're running 8th.
Right.
It's been hard for us to make raw speed. And we did some things this week that we thought would help, and obviously they did by qualifying second and redrew 6th. So Caraway's gotten to where it's really hard to pass, especially with the rain. There was just no second groove there at all. And car was pretty good. I feel like after the race, we ended up 5th, and then I think we're going to be 4th. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the changes that I wanted to try and practice, I think my butt tells me that's what it would have helped us be better. But I think we would have ended up 3rd had we not had those late cautions. Those late restarts are just, they're hairy. Yeah. So, all in all, I'm looking forward to Dominion this weekend, because what we learned and where our car is, the field is just so tight. You've got to be spot on. So, it was a pretty good weekend. Nothing's tore up. That's a plus. And
well, we had some news come out after the race. There was a disqualification of the race winner. And just, I'm not mechanically inclined. So just from what I can see on Facebook, there's a lot.
Well, if it's on Facebook, it's true.
Well, there's a lot of engine builders on Facebook apparently.
Yeah, right.
And I heard something about some kind of pressure relief valve or something like that. Can you maybe clarify? Is that something common that everybody runs?
Well, so I'm not an engine builder either. Okay. I know what.
It's too bad we don't have one sitting in the room.
Right. So, well, maybe Ben can help us with this. So, anyway, last year, I think it was around this time of year, around Tri-County, there was rumors going around that this pop-off valve was in the oiling system on the spec motors. The rule book does say that you can't modify these engines. Well, when the rumor was going around that this pop-off valve was being applied to some of the engines, Smart sent out. They didn't disqualify anybody. They didn't. Right. There was no issues.
They just addressed it.
They addressed it and sent out an amendment that said you cannot run these. That was last year. From what I understand, the 15 car after the race was found to have one of these valves on the motor. I think it's being appealed and all this kind of. I don't know exactly what's going on, but I guess that's the facts that I can attest to. That's what I know. Because it's all, there's so much hearsay.
Yeah.
But Ben maybe can help us with this on the technical side. What I was told by a reputable spec engine builder last year is what happens is we have a breather. You have a breather on the oil tank and you have a breather on the valve cover. And it's a breather. It's an open breather. This pop-off valve allows the engine to create pressure and then pop off at a certain pressure, which enhances the performance. Like I said, I'm not an engine builder. That's just what a reputable engine builder for this spec engine told me last year. So
I have a technical question. I look at this like I look at the law, right? So if an amendment came out last year, is the amendment carry over to this year, or I'm just being devil's advocate, or should should it have been at the end of the season go from an amendment to a rule?
Well,
see,
you have to understand our rule book is foggy anyway. We basically, when I say we, Smart copied and pasted NASCAR well and modified rule book. There are so many rules in our system, Smart system, there's rules in that book that don't apply to Smart. The rule book, and we've talked about this kind of stuff before at Bowman Gray, same way. The NASCAR well and modified rule book doesn't allow for a fiberglass top. Smart does. Doesn't allow for aluminum fuel cell can. Smart does. Right. Says that you have to run a certain tether, double tether system on your front suspension. Smart doesn't do that. So it's a tricky area, but the bottom line is I know that the rule book says you cannot modify this engine. And whenever they found out that this piece was being modified, they said, hey, you can't do it anymore. To me, if I tell you clean your room, whether it means right now or after a while, I told you to clean your room. You got to clean your room. So it's tricky, okay? The rule book doesn't tell you that we can't run fuel injection. It just tells you have to run 830 carburetor. So it doesn't have to list everything that you can't run. It just says you can't modify it.
Right.
And the rule book says you can't modify it. That's kind of where I'm at.
The whole reason there's the vents is so they don't build pressure. Not building pressure, why do you?
Yeah.
So
anyway, it's
I don't know.
And we should and that's it. So let me qualify Ben.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's tell everybody why Ben is knowledgeable.
Yeah,
on this.
yeah. He doesn't work at 109. You pull it where some of these other opinions come from. So Ben, you and your family have been in NASCAR for a long time.
Yeah.
And one of the things I want our audience to learn is, your dad is a renowned engine builder, and by nature, you are very, very respected engine builder also.
I was.
Your way around the motor.
I was exposed to a lot of things at a very young age, and it's funny. Dad told me the other day. He's like, you know a lot about motors. You could put a motor together. This was like 2 days ago, and he said, I've never taught you anything about a motor. He said, you've picked up stuff. He's like, and it's time I start teaching you, which I thought was cool.
That is cool, man. Especially knowing your dad. That's pretty cool.
And I'm 45 now and he's 73. And you don't expect that. Or I didn't expect it. And it was like, I thought it was cool that was on his radar,
Well, and put it into context. So your dad's background.
Yeah, he's, since probably 12, 13-year-old, he was building motors.
We haven't said his name.
And
George Gable.
George Gable. Yeah. And different time, different era. Today's racers or today, the new NASCAR, it almost sounds like it's made up, like how they all got started. And they started when they were kids. The ones that left a big footprint in the industry. There wasn't, we transitioned into this, or you lived it from day one, and they're still doing it. That's what he still does today. He's losing the battle to addiction of engines and racing. I mean, he really is. He's 73, and he's got a engine shop there at the farm, and every morning to every night. I mean, that's what he does. He still has that same passion, but I would say NASCAR, mid to late 80s is when he started. He worked for Rod Osterlin.
Right.
And you didn't have one job in that time. You know, he was the engine builder, but I think he was a shop foreman too. And they had a little shop in downtown Mooresville on Broad Street, and that's where all of it took place originally. And it's like, you know, it's a shop that was maybe 3,000 square feet. So it's hard it's hard to look back and see that they ran all those races with the resources that they had compared to what they do today. You know, and what they're actually doing today wasn't much, you know, the schedule's bigger, but still it's just very interesting how they were able to do what they did with minimal resources. So it means everyone had to wear more hats,
Right.
is basically what I'm getting at. And when you built a motor, you built a motor. You honed the block, you washed the parts. You didn't have an assembly line. You didn't have an assembly line. You didn't have different you had departments, but one guy had his hands on every piece of it. And that was that way till, I would say, the early 2000s. It's still, you know, like Runt Pittman. He was an engine builder. He he was for the 4 car, the Kodak Films car. He was their head engine builder. And then everybody knew who the engine builder was too. Like it wasn't, you know, it just had more identity then, and you felt something from it. You knew.
It wasn't just a ECR. It was a guy.
Yeah, it was a guy.
Man.
It was a man.
It was a man. That
and
man
he
is
knew,
the engine builder. Yeah.
And you built the motor, you know, and they dynoed the motor. Then they went and put it in the car and went to the racetrack with it. So it was, you know, the depth there was deep.
As NASCAR grew and his skill set grew, he continued to work with a lot of very well-known families. I think the Parrots, Yates, Roush,
Yeah, I mean, it was probably the mid-90s is when every team had their own motor shop when I was growing up. Like Bud Moore and Spartanburg, they built their own motors. Junior Johnson in Wilkesboro, they had every team, I think Stavola, all the teams, they all had their own motor shop. And there wasn't a lot of, the proving grounds was the racetrack and their engine dyno.
Mm-hmm.
This was before chassis dynos. There wasn't there wasn't a big presence of engineers. This was pre-Spintron, which Spintron was when they really figured out valve train stuff and made huge gains in horsepower. And this was late 90s, I think, is when they started to utilize it. The stuff was there, but it wasn't utilized till they actually appointed a person to say, hey, you know, we got I think a 37 race schedule. So we build the motors. We don't have days off now. And when we do, we're tested. So they kind of implemented some of the new stuff and dedicated certain people to do it. And then it become an asset where they could implement changes to gain horsepower and things like that. But, yeah, it's just
as your dad's coming up through NASCAR, you're little. So
right.
It seems like from us doing this, you know, one of the things that we continuously hear from the old school guys, and you just said it yourself, is, you know, you don't say, okay, well, I think my path is I'm going to go here and do this and do that, and I want to end up with this team. Like, it's just what your family did. It's like your fammy, you know. Yeah. So starting at a young age, you were subjected to it.
We didn't know any better.
You don't, and then you know, I wanted to drive. I was going to be a race car. I was going to be a NASCAR driver, no question. That's what I thought in my mind. That's what was going to happen, and I was so close to it. I was around it all and exposed to it all. But you learned, you know, to be a mechanic first, or in the engine shop, you started. I'll mention a guy that was, I think about him all the time, that was like a mentor to me. His name was Paul Topcheski, and he taught me everything you could know about the block and just how his attention to detail and the grit that these guys had. Like it may exist nowadays, but I don't see it. Like the passion that they had.
It's more of a business now.
Yeah,
Well,
and
it was
a
a
business.
lifestyle then. It's a business now.
It was, but like I think about just like what I learned from that guy, I applied it to everything in my life. You know, and I was
Sounds like another guy we
I
knew.
was so young, and I feel just blessed that I was able to grow up be that close to the heyday or the incline. You know, it was going uphill, and it gave the NFL. It was neck and neck with the NFL for popularity. I think in the late '90s, early 2000s.
Back
it
when everywhere
was
was sold out. I mean, Charlotte had
100,000
170,000 people there.
Yeah, 170 to 180,000 people.
We are Citrusafe, where good grilling is made better. We have prided ourselves in being the industry pioneer for safe grill cleaners. Our citrus-powered grill cleaner spray paired with our nylon bristle brushes is all you need when it comes time to clean your grill. We strive to not only save you fuel, but also avoid the dangers associated with ingesting metal wire grill brushes. Citrusafe is available at major retailers nationwide from Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace, Walmart, and many more. We also are available online on Amazon.com. Citrusafe, great for all grills.
Well, who, as you're coming up, who all do you think really influenced you?
There's
along the
there's a
lines?
lot of people, but there's some, and if I don't mention somebody, it wasn't that they weren't, but it was like total package guys. Like one I always think of, and I think about him a lot, was Bill Engel. I think I was 15, 16. He allowed me to go on the road at that age as like a helper mechanic, you know, and I learned to do the underneath of the car, which changing gears and pulling axles when you changed a gear, and you changed motors 3 to 4 times a weekend. I was a smaller guy, not, you know, I was 180 pounds. I wasn't 6 foot tall, big, so I could climb in and out of the car, take the shifter off. We'd put, you'd have a practice motor, then you'd swap back and forth and make a run on your qualifying motor. And then when that was over, you put the race motor back in. So, and it was like, I'm so glad I got to do that, because I hear, you know, people say, "Oh man, we got to change a motor," and I'm like, "That ain't shit. We did it.
Right.
We did it every
3 times a
weekend,
weekend.
3 times a weekend."
Yeah.
Right.
That's business as usual.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Well, it
It changed my perspective. You know, it made me look at
Yeah.
things as not a problem. The normal was way rougher than things are now, which equips you to be able to handle the problems better.
Yeah.
And it's just but Bill Engel was impactful. He was super organized. He was, and I've used things I've learned from him, not just in the way he approached the problem solving of a race car. In so much, and Bert, we could go on and on.
Yeah. That's why.
About perspective. And it's like, we all could look at the same thing. You could bring, you know, a situation in, and it's in the eyes of the beholder. Well, if you know that, but, you know, look at it more open-minded, or look towards a solution instead of, damn, look at that problem we got. We don't, you know, you try not to do that. And when you practice that, you see the results are better, and you elevate. And I can't, you know, and my dad, I mean, I look at, he was totally channeled into, you know, I'm super diverse and I'm in different wheelhouses and play in different sandboxes and do different things. And Dad was motors, and that was it. But I took that passion and that grit. It was like relentless, like the work ethic from that era, not just him. I mean, I could name guys that I look up to. There was one that was a crew chief, and I don't know if he's still real involved, but Mike Hillman was like a true grit guy, like from my dad's era. That, I mean, those guys were just, they're different. They were built different. There was no limits. They had a goal, and you better get, I mean, they're going for it, and it doesn't matter what happens. And
Take
I
the
just
clock
don't,
off the wall. No
They're-
time. No.
yeah,
We got time to go to
quitting
lunch.
time. Yeah.
Oh, well, it's 5 o'clock.
And
I
I
remember,
think,
I mean-
and I just feel like I'm just super blessed that I was able to be around so many, you know, words can't really explain it, their dedication. And it was like 52 weeks a year. This is it.
Yeah.
I mean, everything else is an after, you know, nothing else matters.
But so I know you and Bert have a friend in common, Roy Trantham, and I mean, I've been around you for like 15 years. I don't think I've ever even heard the story how the two of y'all But how your paths crossed?
Well, we met through George. All right, so Roy, I guess, was friends with Robert Yates, or new acquaintance with Robert Yates.
He was.
And then that's how, when Robert went to George and asked to build modified motors, Ford modified motors. And that's kind of how it all started. And then next thing you know, George is building our motors for years until he retired kind of from doing that. And we met Ben through George building our motors.
And it was.
And the motors we run now, see, this is what people have to understand when you talk about short track racing. The motors we run now may be built by Darrell Hoffman at the NASCAR Institute at UTI, but they're George Gable motors from Yates. These motors are original. We call them original George motors.
Yeah.
George was the
OGs.
brainchild.
Yeah.
OGs. Literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
But he was the brainchild behind the stuff in these motors. And it's funny because we took one motor when George was kind of backing away a little bit, and he had some health problems there at one time.
Yeah.
He was backing away, and we took an engine to a different engine builder to go through it for us. And he was amazed. He's like, I've never seen anything like this. The oiling system and just the things that George learned on his own, I guess, just figured out how to make it better. And they was like, this is overkill. This is overkill. Well, wait a minute.
but-
There's no such thing as overkill when it comes to putting the motor together, in my opinion.
The generation that he came up in lent him the creativity to come up with the different stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Well, that's the thing too about this LS motor we were talking about.
Yeah.
This LS motor is a spec motor, no different than a crate motor in a dirt car, right? Can't touch them. They're sealed. You can't touch them. Everybody has the same parts. Your built motors is how much money do you want to spend?
Right.
If you put a 390 carburetor on it, your cubic inch matches your weight, and your 12-to-1 compression or lower, there is no rule on the weight of a crank or pistons, or there's no rules on that stuff. So with George, he was in that world.
In that era too,
limits.
not only the budget side of it, because 99 out of 100 the answer's dollars,
Right.
and it's how much it costs this much. It's you can spend more.
Yeah, you can always spend more. Yeah.
The era that he came up in, like you were saying, that generation, in the way NASCAR was, and not just NASCAR, but as a whole, it welcomed the way it was laid out. Ingenuity paid off.
yeah,
There was
creativity
zero,
was king.
and you can look at it on the body side, the aero side. I mean, there's just so many.
Well, listening to
I
John
got
Dotson stories
Yeah.
and stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, back then
I
you
got-
could do that stuff.
I got an interesting story. You look at now with NASCAR, I don't follow it, so I don't know. But the chassis come from NASCAR. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's bound pretty much to cookie cutter. It's just, we'll say it's what it is.
I've got that word sitting right here in front of me. Yeah.
So this is something that I've always remembered it, and it was a guy named. Well, Dad was. Let me tell you, he was the shop foreman on the '57 Heinz ketchup car, probably 1989, 90 maybe. And I think Doug Richard was the crew chief, and I think he left and went somewhere else. So they didn't really have a crew chief for a minute. They were trying to find a crew chief. And they needed some help. Dad's building the motors, and it's like, he never crew chiefed a cup car before. And they had, I don't remember who the chassis builder was, but you had several different builders. You could, you could do what you wanted. They didn't have to go and get approved and get a
They
sticker.
didn't have templates and
Right.
scans and all that stuff.
So they had a car that they were having problems with turning. It was just tight, and no matter what they did to it, they couldn't get it to turn. And somebody told Dad, you need to call a guy named Ray Stonkus. He's a guru. He can help get you going. So he contacts the guy, I want to say on a Thursday or Friday, I don't remember, and to come to the shop the following week. Because I forget what race it was. I was 9 years old, 10 years old, but I overheard it and was right there. That's where I went. If I wanted to see my dad, I had to go to the shop. That was it. So this guy's supposed to come, and he gets there, and this is at nighttime in like downtown Mooresville on Broad Street, So anybody can walk, that's from the way things are now, you can't just walk in a cup tank.
Right. It was small town.
Doors are open, anybody walking by could come up. And Dad's waiting on this guy to get there. He waited a couple of days and he didn't come. And the next day, the guy wheels up in a El Camino.
Greatest American car ever made.
Right.
So we, automatically you're like, he's a badass.
Yeah, right.
He's in an El Camino.
This guy's gonna
He's
be-
3
yeah.
days late and he's in El Camino. So he
I bet he's
gets
got a
out.
mustache too.
He
Guaranteed.
gets out, and it appears that he may have had some adult beverages when he gets there. And he walks around to the back of the El Camino, and he, there's old Milwaukee beers just rolling around, in room temp or outdoor air, and he gets them out and walks in. Doesn't speak to Dad, just kind of walks by. What car are we working on? And Dad's kind of in shock, that he's a couple days late and he's drunk, basically, or been drinking. And he immediately sees the car and he says, we need it up on stands. So they put it up on jack stands. And he gets plumb bobs and strings out. And he starts dropping plumb bobs and jacking the suspension up to where it would be at ride height and putting dots and stuff on the floor. And I'm a kid, so I'm like, what is this weird stuff going on over here? And he spends some time doing that, little talking going on, no explanations. And George has a cigar in his mouth for sure and just kind of watching. They get done dropping these plumb bobs, they found the center of the car and, just basically mapped it out with dots on the floor. Then they moved the car. And he's looking around and he's like, he grabs broomsticks. And he's like laying the broomsticks out and he gets some, and I need some screws, and he runs screws through the broomstick. And he's scratching it into the floor, like trying to intersect the dots. And what he did was, we know now, but that's how you found roll center, how high off the ground and right or left it was. And he's sitting there and he's like scratching his head, and I'm like, what? The left front spindle's too short. We need to make a spindle. I need a bucket of sand. To me, I need a bucket of sand and another old Milwaukee, right?
You're right.
So Dad's like, what the, what are we going to do with, what are we doing with sand now? But what he did was he built a taller spindle, just cut the old one up and built it and made sure it was right and made sure the pin inclination was square, square to the kingpin and all that. And he was TIG welding it, and when he would get done welding it, he would put it in the bucket of sand to draw the heat out of evenly to make it stronger, because that was his theory on it.
What he's doing.
But that guy, he was, I don't know if he went, he was a good crew chief too later on, and the car ran better. So I just think that to me, that was always something that I remembered, and it put me, being a car guy, got my mind working towards.
Well,
There's a lot of what you didn't need a computer. You just old school.
Yeah.
Figured it out, and there was results.
It reminds me of when Tommy came to the shop last week or so. We got 2 jack stands with a string. He said, "Don't y'all have lasers?" I said, "Yeah." That string don't lie either.
Yeah.
That string,
the string tells the truth.
Because here's the thing: it takes longer to set the laser up, and it sounds fancy, but it's not any more accurate than that string is. So I can take 2 jack stands with a string, measure into the frame, measure my wheels, and
you still use grain scales.
we
I don't know
still
if
use
anybody
grain
else-
scales.
I don't
Yeah,
know
we
if
still
anybody
use
else
grain
uses
scales.
those.
Yeah, I like the grain scales because I can put the car on scales. Same thing. You don't have to zero them out. You don't have batteries. You ain't got to plug them in. But the thing I like about my grain scales is I can climb under the car while it's on the scales.
Right.
So I can weigh it, then climb under it and do everything I've got to do under it. Yeah.
Back in the day, and we've kind of here, we don't say the word cheating. We say creative engineering. And I've known you long enough to know just how creative you are both mechanically
It's
and,
just
and
a,
otherwise.
it's just a vivid mindset.
So
That's all it is.
it's an aura, right? It's an aura. But as you were coming up, what were some of the creative engineering things that you saw that got by, or maybe that didn't get by?
There's a lot. There's a lot. One of my favorite was the roof flaps when they had this was later. This was in the 2000s, probably early 2000s, 04, 05-ish. In a speedway car, you didn't need, like a Daytona and Talladega car, you didn't need a brake bias adjuster, right? But you could hook the brake bias adjuster up to the roof flaps and divert some air. There's a lot of stuff like that was
I hadn't heard that.
that
one.
was
Me either.
done. No,
No.
I hadn't heard.
yeah,
that
there's
one yet.
pictures too. Like
Yeah.
you can look and see a few cars. They're
Flaps up a little bit.
for some reason.
Just out of the blue.
Yeah.
What's your favorite creative engineering that you've come up with? I know what he's sitting there thinking.
It ain't
no.
something I'm still doing. Is
Yeah,
it?
no.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. No, and a lot of it's not. It's small things too. I mean, there's racing nowadays. I don't care if you're running at Bowman Gray or even what class you're running. It's so competitive across. Like people don't realize it. Like a tour modified race, all the resources that go into not the top five, not the top five, but the field.
Well, I remember you talking about it. So, what year were you my crew chief? You remember that? Was it 10, 11?
11, 12.
I think 12, it was 12,
13. It might have
13.
been 13.
12 and 13, yeah.
So anyway, my point to that is Ben you were there every week for the tour
Yeah.
and stuff and modifieds at
Yeah.
Bowman Gray. And then you were years before you came back. So last year when Slate ran your car at South Boston was the first time you
Had been to
had been to a race.
Yep,
And I
and
remember him making several comments about you're racing against at least 6 full-time unlimited budget teams.
It's full-time racing, and it's like you can't, and, there's always haters, but people say, well, you can buy a winner. That guy he's got a new car or a new, well, who don't?
Right. Yeah.
Who don't?
Yeah.
And it's like, people do not get that. Like,
Yeah.
not just, that's part of it is buying the right parts and pieces. Well, if you have a budget, you can do that. So there's enough people out there that can do it. I look at like the dirt series of Carolina Clash or the Blue Ridge Outlaws series. There's 20 people that can win or 15 guys that can win who are running the same thing. They all have Bilstein shocks and Longhorns. It's what you do with it. So a lot of to get back to the ingenuity or the pushing the rules, it's a combination of small things that are outside the box that just have to, it's like a puzzle, you got to get all the pieces together to make something out of it. But so now it's down to the small things, really. Nowadays, whether you're running, like I went to South Boston with Slate for his first tour race. And when I walked through the garage, the pits, it was like, these aren't just, no
They're
offense.
not hobby racers.
No offense, it's not, there's no field fillers.
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
It used to be growing up in the modifieds, there was 3-4 teams that were going to win.
Yeah.
Now it's 8 to 10 to 12 on any given day. I mean, and then it doesn't mean that I don't know how to say this. When you look at resources, there's a dozen teams. Now, you still may not have but 3 or 4 that's probably going to win.
Yep.
But when you look at the 10th place car, it's got the same equipment, same resources, same budget.
Yep.
as
And
the
then
guy
you
that
got
just
to
won the
remember
race.
too, you're racing. So the variables that can happen that can cause you to win or not win
Right.
that are outside of your control,
Right.
those are still there.
Yeah.
And it's like we talk regularly. Now, what I like about today versus I get to have Bert or we get to talk,
Yeah.
I guess, uninterrupted for more than he's got a limit.
Right.
And do you know about it?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Mine's
do?
mine's about a third of what he gives you. But
He's
yeah,
talking about like it was funny because he gets go ahead.
He has like this, and I don't know how what it is that makes him decide how long, but each time it's a little different. But it never exceeds 15 minutes.
yeah.
Have
I get
you
about
ever-
5. I
We're
get about
talking
5.
about on phone calls.
Sometimes
Yeah,
it's
sometimes,
3
yeah.
minutes. I got 3 minutes, and he knows when he picks the phone up. He knows he's either super organized or I don't know what.
He says, here, we'll be on the phone. And I'll say, well, Ben. And he goes, here comes that little thing you do.
He's rolling into the conclusion of the conversation, whether
Right.
you're ready for it or not.
Yeah. Before we get going, he's got a period at the end, and it's all done.
Yeah. I get it. I get it.
So
Well,
that's
one of the things, just being around Bert long enough and traveling and some of the opportunities at Citrusafe and Bert and stuff like that, I've met a lot of people in NASCAR, a lot of people that are our age, you know, whether they race or they're in the industry or whatever. And, you know, when I was first getting to know you and just listening to some of your stories, some of these people I'd start to meet, I'd say, yeah, you know Ben Gable? Across the board. The answer is like, yeah, why?
Depends on what story's
Yeah,
next.
and I'd be like, well, you know, I mean, you know, we work with him. Has he? What do you say about me? I mean, you know, and like you can see them searching their brain for like what crazy, you know, what did we do? And I know coming up, you and Junior were pretty good friends at one time, weren't you?
Yeah.
I mean, you were
Yep.
along for like the trip to DC to pick up TJ Majors, and
Yeah,
it ended up in
and-
like 54 different states.
yeah.
and, you know,
We
whatever.
went north.
Yeah,
We left the shop
So how's
and
that?
went
How does that happen?
You don't like doing that either.
We I'll tell you how I met Junior. He raced. There was a guy on Wiggins Road, which I don't know if that's where I live, and there were a lot of the guys that were friends with
We can
Junior
edit that out if we need to.
were right there. You know, everybody was kind of close knit. Larry Wayne Williams, his shop, he's passed away, but his shop's still there. His son lives there, Ralph Williams. And Larry Wayne, I think that he was just good friends with Dale Sr. is how they, but his job was to take the kids racing. And I think it was the first time I met Junior, they were racing I think it was either the Western Steer cars, and they were right basically across a pasture in a 2-bay shop there is where they started racing. And I went over there, I think, with Harold Wiggins Sr., was good friends with Larry Wayne and Dale Sr. So I met him in passing over there. And then I want to say 90s, like late 90s, when he was running out of there. I talked to him over there. We'd hang out a little bit, but there was a group of us, Brian Thompson, Eric Thompson, David Neal, everybody from that area would hang around with Junior. And you had a double wide on Highway 3 there, and there was get-togethers over there. So,
Get-togethers,
yeah.
How long was that ride to go get TJ Majors? Because from the little snippets I've
It never
heard,
ended. I
that-
mean,
yeah.
I think it was like 4 days, maybe 3 or 4 days.
And y'all just-
And it was on Junior's podcast. And what was cool about it is that Josh Snyder is who told the story, him and Junior, and it was cool to hear it because I haven't thought about it in a long time. It was, I think, 2001 maybe. It was after Junior's first year in Cup, and he told it perfect. Like, and there was things that were mentioned that I had forgot, but once I heard him, I'm like,
oh yeah,
man, we did that. And at the time, you don't think, as we get up, like I'm getting more sentimental. I'm 45. I'm old. I'm 45. So you reflect a lot, or I have.
45.
And I'm post midlife crisis, or I hope I'm post. But it's been a good one. It's just like, I don't know how long they're supposed to last, but I think I'm done.
right.
Or I felt like I was the last week or so that's a good sign. But you think back of stuff that in the moment you did, it was just hanging out with your buddies.
Yeah.
And going and doing something. But you think now we all have, either families or jobs or careers that kind of direct us. And that we were able just to say, we're going north to pick up our buddy.
We're just gonna hop in a dually and just see
And
where
it
we
was
end up.
weird. I think I was riding shotgun, and we picked the dually up from DI, which was right across the street from Junior's house. And we jumped on 85, and then he was like, you can imagine what we had schedules, but he's like by the minute celebrity, but we didn't look at it like that. It's just and he's like, we're not going to have a script. We're not going to have a schedule. We're just going to we're just going to go north. And we ended up, in Gettysburg, and I actually have the pictures. They were talking about, and there's like the four of us, or I think it was only three because somebody had to take the picture. We're standing by the eternal, that flame at Gettysburg and the cannons and all that. And then there's a picture of us outside the White House as well. But basically, we hung out. I can't remember if it was one night or 2 nights at this, I want to say it was Excal. I'm not sure the name of it, but it was a purple building, very cool architectural, and that's what caught our eye. And it was like
The neon lights.
Yeah.
That didn't hurt
Yeah.
either.
right. And it had a really good restaurant
Yeah.
in there.
That's why you went in there
Yeah.
for food.
We were all hungry.
Yeah, of
Been on
course.
the road, traveling.
100%. 100%.
But it had a strip club in it too.
Oh.
Oh, no
How about
kidding.
that? Goes from JV to varsity, just like that.
And what was funny at the time, and it's like you look back, when you're in the middle of it, you don't think about, when you step back, you see more, as you get older and mature. And this was before my frontal lobe fully
Developed. Yeah.
And they say 26. I don't know if you knew this or not, but a male frontal lobe is at 26 years of age before it fully goes. Mine was maybe a little later.
Okay.
But when it did go, it was a light switch. And it was like I woke up with more than I had the day before.
I'm still waiting on that.
Yeah. Some people's never
frontal
comes in,
lobe's
they
not-
say. It's like it kind of goes, but it don't,
Mine's like a flickering light bulb, I think.
Yeah. But that was the story. That was a story. Like we left to go pick up TJ Majors, who became friends with Dale Jr. On the racing on the internet and stuff like that. And then they talked and become friends. And he was needed to move. He was in Buffalo, New York, and he wanted to be in racing and be around racing and stuff like that. And this was, Race City, USA, and what better person to surround yourself
Golly.
with? Yeah. And we had seen him. He had come and visited, so we knew him. We knew who we were going to get. It wasn't like it was who's this mystery person.
Right.
So we thought we were moving his stuff because the guy's picking his life up and moving. And we brought a dually so he could pick a trailer up. Well, when we finally get there, it's a blizzard, snowstorm. And there's a fishing pole, I think, is what was in the trailer.
Fishing pole.
Pretty sure.
So y'all are thinking you're literally like
It might have been
moving-
something else in there, but there wasn't more than two,
So you're thinking you're moving furniture and like,
Yeah, and
you're
we're
moving
like,
your life.
we're going to
and-
haul a trailer in the snow with a fishing pole in it. We could have threw in a truck.
Right.
But we did. We brought his car back, too. He had a red Trans Am, I remember, and he drove it, and then somebody rode with him,
Y'all just come straight back?
We came straight back, yeah, because we were gone a little longer. It took a little bit longer than
Well,
what
you
we
were
anticipated.
appreciating the architecture on the road,
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we, it was funny. There was a few things mentioned that I did. Most of it I remembered, believe it or not. Like you haven't thought about it in years till you hear it and you're like, man, that was a hell of a good damn time.
Right?
And what was cool is that we didn't have, you can't do that now. You can't say, hey, let's just go.
Yeah.
No. And there were no smartphones, stuff like that probably weren't predominant then.
No.
So it's not like you're glued to those. It's just 4 buddies just on the road being, and to your point, you don't realize just how free you are when you're doing that. Because I know, like, now everybody in this room, like, every day, your whole day is pretty much planned, scheduled. Like, there is no just.
And you're never in a place where somebody doesn't know where you're at.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's not like the three
With
of us could
phones
just.
and cameras, Life 360.
Yeah.
We didn't know
You're-
where we were at, and we were totally good with that.
You just knew you were
We
going
We
wanted
north.
didn't
to
know
be-
any better.
Yeah.
You just knew you were going north.
I remember phones is the big thing.
Mhm.
Big thing. Somebody'd come to shop and say, Where's Gary? We went to town. All right, I'll catch him in a little bit. Well, now it's where's Gary? Oh, let me call
Let
him.
me text him, call
Let me
him.
text him. Let me call him.
Just
Back then, oh, he's not here. All right, I'll catch him later.
Yeah.
You know, it was just, we didn't realize how good we had it, the way I look at it.
And what was cool about that story is we went along the way. You're going north. We know that Buffalo, New York is north of Mooresville.
Yeah, right.
Is it northeast, west? But we just wanted to go north, so we ended up going to places that weren't on the way,
Right.
which was Gettysburg, the White House,
I
the
heard something about some
Excalibur.
kind of Cadillac with monster truck tires or something.
And we're lost. Or not, we were just on our way. And it's like a blizzard. And we don't know if this is a dead-end road or where we're at, really. We couldn't see good because of the snow. And somebody looks over and they're like, holy shit. It's like, I don't know if they were 44s or what. And I have the pictures. I got to find them. But it's a Cadillac or Lincoln maybe. Might have been a Lincoln. Coolest, you don't see that every day. And we're like, I'd bought a little disposable camera.
It
I'm
reminds me of a Hangover.
Yeah.
At the end, when they find the camera in the back seat.
Yeah, during the
It's like,
credits, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
There was a lot of good pictures on that camera.
Well, White House, Cadillac on monster truck tires,
Excalibur.
architecture.
It's almost like it's the 7 wonders of the world. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been
And what
that
was
could have been
cool-
the prequel to the Hangover movie.
Right,
Really,
Mm-hmm.
I mean that could be where they got that from.
Oh, yeah.
That leaked story. Well,
And it was cool with TJ, too. Later on, we were roommates on the road. He was Sterling Marlin's spotter.
Couple more steps. How's it going? Are you me? Yeah, I'm you from the future. Well, hold on, let me shoot this deer real quick. Yeah, that deer's gonna wind you because you didn't use your limit shield. Told you so. Anyway, I got a jet. Just remember to use your limit shield. Oh yeah, and if Mike asks you to go to Tijuana, don't go.
We were good friends, but then we got to travel and be roommates, and so that was...
no,
a lot of fun.
when all y'all were running around together, that's about the time Dirty Mo came up. Like, where'd that come from?
Mooresville, I think it was Dirty Mo Posse, but there was people around Mooresville that, older guys that I heard it from that drag raced, that they kind of called themselves Dirty Mo. They didn't say Posse or anything like that, but the Mooresville drag strip, there was a group of fellas out there that would say Dirty Mo. And then there was a little house on Highway 3 there that TJ moved into and David Neal lived at, another buddy. And that was where it started. There was like some camaraderie around that little house. And it was like a bachelor pad for sure, to say the least.
It was a rally point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The wallpaper, it didn't have wallpaper, but like one room, a garage / multi-purpose area. The ceilings and the walls and everything were Bud Light and Budweiser boxes. They stapled to the wall, like frat house type deal. And I think there was like a pillow room. The whole floor was pillows.
I was getting ready to ask if
And the
that
walls,
other room
for
had
some
a
reason, the
name.
walls had like beads on them or something.
Really
Yeah, I don't know.
Mirrors
Or-
on the ceiling.
earned or
No.
donated.
No mirrors.
Don't remember.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, it was a neat, looking back, it was fun, being there. But when you look back and think about stuff you hadn't thought about in a long time, because life be lifing.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
we all
like
go
you're
our ways and get busy, and
well, you're old enough to be an adult, but you don't really have adult responsibilities like you do now.
it's prefrontal lobe for
yeah,
sure.
there you go.
Yeah,
there
you
it
go.
is. I'm gonna have to talk to Dr. Branch about the frontal lobe
Talk
stuff.
about ask him, because I think my theories are right. Like I look at people too, and I'm like, "How old are you?"
Yeah,
And they're
right.
like, I'm 24, and I'm like, fuck.
Hadn't
That
developed yet.
explains it.
Yeah,
He's
hadn't
2
developed
years
yet.
away from being even a factor,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And then, and then speaking from experience. And it took me till I was 30 to be that far into frontal, having a good operating frontal lobe to where you could look back realistically and go, yeah, I wasn't where I needed to be, develop, maturity level or
But you laugh at that, and there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
Like something
check
happens.
it with your doctor
Well,
for sure,
we-
because
We've got a good friend of ours, and you might even know him, Charlie Branch.
Mm.
He's a retired neurosurgeon, and he did real big with NASCAR. He worked with Earnhardt when he had some of the concussion stuff going on, and he actually has bought, or he's a drone operator now. He farms, and we talk about it some, and I cannot wait to when we go back, because I go over there Friday. I'm gonna get some frontal lobe education. I'm gonna be like, look, this guy that I know that is a master of everything has talked to me about the frontal lobe from a medical standpoint. Can you tell me about my frontal lobe or lack thereof?
Well, I liked the term, because Bert will tell you, like anything I talk about, I relate it to a race car.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's my businesses or if it's whatever. Lobe. I mean, it's opening and shutting my valves.
Yeah. Right.
Right. That's how I relate that.
Yeah.
So
You're not wrong.
yeah.
I know. Like I was so organized, and I need a cigarette break. I don't even smoke.
I know where you were.
Okay.
And it was
There you go.
Yeah.
it was Roy.
Yes.
And
we started
and
down
I'll
talking about
give you a
Roy.
little bit of how I got to. I wouldn't have been able to do a lot of things. Happened in order for me to be able to go be Bert's crew chief. A lot of life choices I made at a young age, which was a pivot point. I was 28, and I was crew chief at RAB Racing. It was a nationwide team, or I still call it Bush, nationwide team. And I wasn't, I was going to be a NASCAR crew chief, right? Well, I still was intrigued with, real estate and investing and doing things on the side. So I had a construction business on the side. Had opened a hair salon up, pretty diverse.
Church and hair salons, two best places to meet women. Anyway.
Yeah. And so I was doing different things at the same time as being a crew chief, a young, relatively young crew chief. And it was a cool deal because the team owner, he was young, Robbie Benton. He was, I think, 30. So we were like the youth movement thing. The whole team was young. Had a lot of fun, learned a lot. And I look back at that, if we were not older, but if him and I were deeper into frontal lobe or more mature, like we could have really, really, not saying anything bad. It went the way it was supposed to go. And I think he's at Rick Ware. He's a manager for Rick Ware now. I don't think he doesn't own any teams now, but it was didn't really leave on bad terms, but I just knew that I needed to be doing something different. And people questioned, they're like, "You're quitting." Like I quit after Darlington. We had different driver every week. It was who could help us pay the bills type of deal. And I got to work with Scott Riggs, and we got some good runs. And I don't remember, but we were in the top 10 in points, I think, after 5 races with no sponsors on the car. Second year.
You mentioned Scott Riggs. Let me interrupt you for just a second. I met him at the Hickory Cars Tour race.
Yep.
We were flying, and it was rain delay, and I talked to him for about an hour. And I knew who he was, but didn't know a whole lot about him. And
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something. That was one of the nicest guys.
Yeah.
Sharp. Yeah. I really enjoyed talking to him. Of course, Lane's real successful now. But
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
But that's what I was doing, And then prior to that, to just give people an idea that don't know, is I worked at Robert Yates on the 38 car for Todd Parrott is on the setup plate. So I got exposed to tons of great, information, and we had pull down rigs, and my job was to set cars up and ride rate springs. So I was like it's a sandbox for me to play. I was getting paid to play really, just to learn and build a notebook. That notebook don't end here. It's like you carry it with you. you know, so you're getting I was paid to get an education, and I was very serious about it at the time, you know, just building my own notebook or, you know, gaining knowledge on how to make the cars go faster for the rules that we had at the time. So I was car chief first at RAB, then became crew chief. Didn't do it, you know, we were probably halfway through the season, I think, and I did it the previous year. The end of the year is when I took over. So it was like something was telling me to go a different path. And I think it didn't hurt that my businesses were doing really well, and I was spending less time on my businesses, obviously, than I was my racing. And it's like, you know, I always say grass is greenest where you water it the most. And the stuff I was watering the least was kicking ass. So it was like, hey, time to go.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you, and I was torn because that was a dream to be a crew chief. And I think I had if I'd stayed there, I'd had a great future, you know. To be younger than 30 and being in that position was a big accomplishment that I'm proud of. And you know, it was all good. There's nothing bad about any of it. The team, you know, it was all good. But I walked away from that and started focusing on my businesses, but I couldn't walk away from racing. It's in my DNA. And I'm thinking about, I get my businesses better or keep going, grow the businesses, I'm going to have my own race teams. Don't know what, you know, I've always loved the dirt racing stuff. And I get a call. I'm not working other than I was doing some consulting, and I crew chiefed a truck here, an ARCA car there, but mainly just focused on business. And I get a call from a guy named Roy Trantham. And I never really heard of him, knew nothing about the guy. And he was like straight shooter.
You could say that right.
I mean, that doesn't even, that's an understatement to call him a straight shooter. You can't define, you know, am I right? I mean, you couldn't really explain this guy. He was so unique and different than anybody I'd met. And I knew it right away, like just from talking to him. And I answer the phone, and he introduces himself, and he tells me he knows my dad, George, that he purchases engines from him, and he's sponsor for Myers Brothers Racing and Burt Myers. And I said, okay, cool, you know, nice to meet you and all that. And I don't really know what he wants or where he's going at all with it. And he says, well, I need, and you remember the things he would say. If you wore your feelings, you know, you had to really put your feelings.
With Roy, with me, like whenever I first
he was abrasive, to say the least.
When I first started interacting with Roy, we went to test at Caraway or something, and he's telling me to do something to this car. And I'm thinking, this old man, he's trying to tell me how to set up a modified? This guy raced a Fairlane back in whatever at Hickory, and this guy's going to tell me how to set up a modified. And Roy, I think, told Mark Moorfield, he said, that little bastard, talking about me, he said, that little bastard, it reminds me of me when I was that age. But it finally took me a while to realize that this dude knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And he was smarter than me. And I didn't want to admit it. And that's the thing about Roy is he was intimidating because what he was saying was spot on, but you didn't want to believe
you didn't know how he knew what he knew.
Right.
Sitting down in Florida.
Right.
Not even going to the race.
Right. How did he know that?
But the way it went, he's like, well, you know, Burt. I said, I hadn't met Burt. I don't know. I know of him, but I don't know him. And he's like, well, I hate to tell you, you're going to end up getting to meet him. and I'm like,
and that's exactly what he'd say,
This is what he said. And he said, he's great till he takes his damn helmet off. He said, that's where the problem starts. He said, when he takes his helmet off, he's like, it's bad. But when the helmet's on, he's awesome. Remember? Yeah. I mean, he would flat out say, and I'm going, and I didn't know how to really take him. And he said, well, here's what's going to happen. And he's all, just meet him, and he's telling me
what's getting ready to happen
next. And I'm going, who the fuck, you know, who is this guy, right? And he says, well, I see you own some businesses. And I'm like, yeah. I said, I'm working on construction and some other things. Yeah. He knew about me. And I'm like, what did he do? Like stalk me?
Yeah, right.
Like, this is kind of getting weird. And he said, well, you're not in NASCAR anymore. And he's like, what I need a consultant for various things. He said, but right now you're going to start helping Burt Myers.
Is that right?
I said,
Well,
okay.
guess what happened at the end of the day?
And he said, and you're not going to get paid a lot of money either. So if you're thinking you are, that's not what this is about. And you're just going to have to accept it. Like, I don't even have a choice.
I'm
telling
surprised.
you.
I'm surprised the conversation's still going at this point.
So it was called the way he.
But
it was
the way
something
he
about
presented
him, man.
it, you couldn't. You almost wanted to say and hang the phone up, but you didn't. There was something about it. You just kept listening, and that was just him. And you know, he's like, "This is how it's going to go." And you know, and I said, "What do you mean I'm not going to make a lot of like? How do you know that?" He said, "You're going to get an education by being under my wing that you couldn't buy from Harvard." No shit. That's what the guy told. And then, you know, people that don't know him, I mean, he raced in NASCAR. You know, he's from Asheville.
Yeah.
He grew up with the Presleys racing in that era and Jack Ingram. And, you know, he went on to run some NASCAR races. And then he was faced with, you know, do I try to continue racing without funding? But he ended up being, over the top successful entrepreneur. A budget lease, sales and lease and rental. That was all him. And he had, I don't know how many 14 Ford dealerships at some point.
Yeah.
Went to the Virgin Islands and
one of
started
the
a
things
Ford
is-
deallership.
One of the
'Cause why
things
not?
that
Why? Like, who the hell
Why not?
doesn't want that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
one of
Every
the
day.
things that meant a lot to me with Roy was he would I heard later that he said one of the reasons he wanted to help me was because he tried to race for a living and support his family. He couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And said he knew how hard it was to try to pay your bills and race at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's why he wanted to help me. It's because he had been through it and he knew how hard it was.
So,
and he got himself successful.
yeah.
So he was able to do it.
So that conversation, the only conversation we had, and he's telling me what I'm getting ready to do and how I'm not going to make any money in this education that I'm going to get. Like, the reaction you had was perfect to hearing this because you wanted to, I'm like, what's stopping me from hanging up?
Right.
But something was.
What's next? What's he gonna say next?
He just had a way about it. And I said, well, what do you want me to do? He's like, you need to help them. He's like, bring some resources to their team.
Now,
and he said,
did you know that this was
No.
going on?
No, Roy told me what was going
he
to happen.
said, and
Same
the other
way.
thing,
I got this guy's coming to help you. He's going to crew chief you. He's going to help you get your program better.
and then he,
And I'm like, all right.
and he told me, he said, this is what I want. He says, I want more wins, not winning enough. And I need you to watch the budget. He said, I'm going to set you up to where you can help with that part of it. And he says, you're business savvy. And he says, but he wouldn't hold back, would he? Bert? Bert doesn't need control of the checkbook. That's what he would tell me. That's your new job. So I go, and here's, like, I'm thinking, don't know these guys, and he's like, you need to go to the shop. He's like, you need to go up there. He's like, and I don't want you really working on it. You remember him saying, he's like, I know that you can turn wrenches. You don't need to do it. And I'm like, what do you mean? That's what I do. He's like, no. You need to, they don't need anybody to do that. You need to just analyze the situation, just measure stuff up, look at stuff. And I'm going, okay. So I'm thinking the first time I'm on the way to the shop, I'm going, well, okay, I'm going to Myers Brothers Racing, Burt Myers, championships, wins. They've had success. And how do I go in there and start telling them to change what they're doing? That's a
tall task.
That's a job, right? How do I go in and tell them, hey, you've always done it this way, and as of today, we don't do that shit.
Especially when you walk into their shop and it's wall to wall.
I know that you've done all this, but not anymore. That was what I was up against, and I'm going, And I wanted the opportunity too, because I love the reason I did construction and do other, not that I'm not passionate about my business, is it was when I was a kid, like I noticed this when I was little, I would race in go-karts. And this is nothing, we had a pickup truck with a go-kart in it with 4 tires. That's how we started. There wasn't, in that day, there wasn't a lot of money
There weren't toter
in
homes.
NASCAR. No, we didn't. They were there, but we didn't have them. So I would watch, and I respect these people, and I still do to this day. But they had a huge footprint in go-kart racing, and they went on to cars. But the guy that always sticks out in my mind was a guy named Tim Gordon, because he was like the Rick Hendrick of go-karts at that time. This is in the late 80s. He had a motorhome and a big trailer, and he was a dirt racer, raced at Metrolina before he had kids that raced. And he had he fielded a go-kart in every class. And I looked at that and I was like, he had a construction business. Or I'd look at Dale Love and Kevin Love. They raced late models too. They had construction businesses. So they had a way to fund, so I, at an early age, I was like, you got to have in my mind, I'm like, you got to have a construction business to pay for this shit or something, a way to do it. And it's kind of where the path I took, later is like, you could only go so far. Like, how are you going to build your own race team if you're working for someone else's?
One of the best pieces of advice I ever heard was find something that you're really good at, make that your living. Let that fund your passion. Don't try and take your passion.
It's hard to listen to, but
it is. Yeah. But don't try to fund your passion as your career. Find something you're good at and let that fund your passion. And what you just said is that in a nutshell.
Absolutely.
So you get up to the Myers shop and
I know, I'm like, I got to go in soft, but I don't do that.
That's
not me at all. So I'm like,
it's not
I got to pretend I'm somebody else for a while. And I'm like, I don't do that shit either. And it was, I don't know that it was rough, but it was like, he didn't believe me. Like I tell him, he flat out, I talked to him and he didn't believe me. And I said, okay, he's not receptive. So a good friend of ours used to say, Mike Tyson, don't tell me you can fight, knock somebody's ass out. Yeah. There's no reason to talk. Just go do it. Prove it. But
being a racer yourself, do you understand why he was resistant?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, and he's not, Bert's not like me. Bert's extremely hard-headed, and I'm not. I'm open-minded and I'm not hard-headed at all,
Not at all.
No.
No, none whatsoever. Crack walnuts on both y'all's foreheads.
Right. Absolutely. So I just wanted to, I'm like, I got to kind of go soft and just let him educate me on what it is that they are doing, because I didn't know. And I look at a race car is a race car. I don't care if it runs on dirt.
Yeah, because in my mind, this guy didn't know modifieds.
Yeah, and that was
I don't care if you were a crew chief for Bush or not. This is a modified. Same way I did with Roy.
Yeah.
You don't know modifieds. These are not the same thing y'all been working on.
And they're not. But you
still a race car.
You look for the trends.
Well, one of the things I talk about is things that Roy taught me. The cool thing about Roy is, and he touched on it, it's not so much about what he taught you in racing. And Roy had a way of teaching you something that at the time it was about racing, but he knew it was bigger than racing. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that I learned from Ben is we were at Caraway, and you hadn't been helping me long at all. We were at Caraway, the car's tight. Make a change tight, make a change tight, make a change tight. He says, go in there and get a spring. We're going to put a spring in the right rear. Well, at the time, we had a 200 in the right rear. Well, the Troyer Bible tells you 5's in the front, 2's in the back, 200 pounds of bite, right? And I come back out with a 225. Okay, a little bit stiffer spring for the right rear. He said, what are we going to do with that? I said, put it in the right rear. He said, go get me a 275. Well, that's like saying, put the washing machine on the roof. That is like, whoa, wait, well, no, we don't do that. You don't put a 275 in the right rear at Caraway. And he said, I'm going to tell you something about this car. That car doesn't know what number's on that spring. That car's telling you it's tight. So give it what it wants. And I learned that. I still remember that to this day.
Yeah.
The car don't know numbers. No. The car don't. Now, 275 in the right rear at Caraway at that time on that day was a Band-Aid.
Correct.
But it took us to where we needed to be
Right. And
to figure out where exactly was the right
and then
place
he
to
learned
be.
to trust me over time. It's like I was confident about the changes we made, but he understood that I'm not saying, hey, this is what we're going to need, but this change will tell us
Right.
where we need to go.
Right.
And we had a lot of success.
I think we won. I don't know how many NASCAR the Welland races we won.
We won 2.
We won 2 of those, but we won 7 at the stadium that year. I think.
Yeah.
I think we won 7 at the stadium.
So I think we won 9 or 10 races total.
Yeah.
I was crewing.
Championship.
And
I know we won the
championship. Yeah. So it went good.
I was crewing for you at the time. And I remember just listening to y'all talk. And of course, I was still kind of new and I didn't have a great understanding of race cars. I just picked up heavy stuff and put heavy stuff down. But I remember some of the stuff that you would say, and I'd watch your reaction, and you're just like,
the thing that
but he went with it because you developed that trust with him.
Ben's path was going to take him another direction no matter what happened. But one of the things that was a little bit of an issue is I bought in, but a lot of my guys didn't.
Right. And that's
and no offense to them.
No.
I mean,
but they took offense to Ben coming in.
And I knew
We've been doing it this way. Everything's going smooth, and now this guy's coming in. And
I didn't make any friends,
and
and that was not the goal.
yeah,
Was to make, but you knew you weren't going to.
yeah.
Well,
You come in from a whole different world, and it was like my goal was to we took the car to a pull down rig. With Ford, I had good ties with Ford because the team my crew chief was Ford. So they gave us time on their Haven Livingston, their pull down rig. So, and those are misused to this day. People misuse them. And I was talking to my guy that drives my dirt modified, Jesse Rocket, about people racing off of scales. You and I've had that. You don't live by a number, but you get your car driving the way you want it to drive, and you get it good on the stopwatch, and hopefully you get the checkered flag because that's the goal, right? But you use that to record what you did. You don't. They do it. In my opinion, they do it backwards. They
Right.
Go,
It is
it's
backwards.
got to be. It's got to have this much nose weight in it. Well, you don't.
Right.
How the hell do you
My
know what
way-
it wants on this specific day?
In my mind,
You go off your ad, you put in there what the driver wants, if he, and needs, and then you record it. Same thing with the pull down rigs. Now it gathers a lot more information than the set of scales do. But we didn't make huge changes after we did learn some stuff. We learned how to keep them from gaining bite. It was like everybody is tight, right? And
back in those, we don't have that problem. They got the front ends figured out.
because they
on these
figured
cars
them
now.
out.
Yeah,
They've
but
changed
back then it was tight. You
The
could
car would-
modifieds. You could get them to turn. Was
we
your
found
biggest-
out really quick on a pull down rig that the problem, I don't want to say as a whole, but the car that we took there that day was gaining a ton of bite when it traveled. And they don't travel much, compared to like a dirt car or anything. You get in maybe 2 inches of travel total in that area.
Yeah.
But it was gaining a ton of bite when it moved, and it was making him so tight in the center and loose off.
Yeah. The biggest thing I see when somebody talks about a pull down rig, to me, the only advantage to a pull down rig and putting data on the car, checking angles, checking travel, how much does this arm move? How much does that move? If I take my car this weekend to Dominion and I sit on the pole by half a second and I lead every lap and win by a whole straightaway and come home and put that on the pull down rig and write everything down, say, okay, this right learned. Here's what it results
on this day.
Record the results on this day.
These
on this
conditions,
day.
these tires.
For you to tell me, all right, let's put your car on the pull down rig, starting at 0, and you pull it down and you say, this arm travels this much to this angle under this much travel. So how do you know what angle that needs to be to put it in victory lane that day?
Right. And see, here's the thing that people, you have this, they want a result now.
Mm-hmm.
You're building a notebook or muscle memory, whether it's in the seat driving or if it's muscle memory for quick decisions under pressure. And that's what is competitive is. That's who's going to beat you is the people that have a mental notebook or, however you want to say it, whether they have to go physically look or it's in their brain. But if you take the car home and do that, you're collecting data, and it's what you do. There's nothing wrong with collecting data unless you go,
Right.
well, next time we go, it better be exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a different day,
Yeah.
different variables. You have to kind of relate, but that's what they're, and it helped us. It did
It did.
because we found.
And best I can remember, before we went, Roy said, Ben, I think he was telling you, but I was standing there. He said, I want to know what angle that left rear shock's at. You remember that? And we got there.
This is what blew my mind.
And he'd never even looked under this car. He said, I want to know what angle that left rear shock's at. And I think that's what we ended up changing
We
to get
ended up changing.
Yeah. and
And
he
he
never
was-
even looked on the car. But
No,
he said,
he was down
It's
in
like a
Florida.
racing prophet. I mean,
dude,
God,
I'm
dude.
telling
He
you,
was a
you would
prophet.
not- he really
total.
was.
He really total was. I mean,
there's no way to explain it. And so going back, and I think I've told this story before, but I love it. I'm going to tell it again because I like it so much. Roy was very straightforward, but he knew from the beginning that I was not receptive. Same way you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was young. I was hard-headed. I was having success. Nobody was going to tell me how to do this. I knew what I was doing. So Roy figured out his method of delivery with me had to be different because if not saying he was wrong because he was right, but if he would come out and tell me something, if he just come right out and told me, I was not going to listen. I was not going to hear it. I didn't want nothing to do with it. I was going to turn him off right away. But what Roy would do is we would go and we'd finish fifth. And I didn't know at the time, but I knew now that he already knew the results. He already knew what had happened.
Yeah.
He'd say, how'd you do? Finish fifth. What happened? Well, the stagger blew up or, got in this line on a restart and got knocked up this track and blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, you keep working hard and you'll get it the next week. Hey, Bert, this Sunday afternoon. Hey, how'd it go last night? Well, we finished fourth. Well, what happened? Well, we qualified on the pole, but we burned the tires off because it had a long green flag and blah, 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 blah. He said, all right. So then the third week, what happened? Finished second. Oh, well, that's a lot better. What do you think you need? Well, I don't know. Well, do we need more horsepower? And now he's starting to affect me, right? I'm like, well, because I know we got the Ford motors. Can't get no better than what we had. Well, I don't know. Well, all right. Well, just trying to figure it out here. You think, do we need some new shocks? Would new shocks, would that help you, Bert? Well, I don't know, Roy. I don't know. And he said, well, Bert, can I tell you something? I said, yeah. All right. Well, I'd like to tell you something. Bert, as long as you got an excuse, you'll never get to the root of the problem.
And probably hung up.
And I'm like,
yeah.
It took him 3 weeks. He knew exactly what he wanted to tell
It was
me.
a 3-week plan.
But it was a 3-week plan. And the patience that he had to be able to tell you what he wanted you and his method of delivery, to be able to tell you what he knew you needed to hear.
Yeah.
But to be able to tell it to you where you would accept it. And that taught me, like I said, that's a life lesson. That's not just racing.
The message was more.
And I tell that to Slate all the time. And anybody in
Presentation.
racing,
Yeah.
I hear somebody in racing, well, we got a bad tire draw and the tires weren't any good and all this kind of stuff. Whoa.
And it's easy.
That is a problem, but you figure it out. And Roy, what did Roy used to say? There are no problems.
Just
solutions.
But how often do you
Solutions.
catch yourself?
I have to catch myself a
I
lot.
catch myself.
I do.
And it's like
I
I'm
do.
not beyond it or about, but I do. It's like no, I need to go look.
Yeah.
I need to go look in the mirror
Right.
and get my shit
Well,
figured
and we
out.
talked about that several weeks ago, talking about Bowman Gray.
Yeah.
The guys that get knocked out of the way every single week. Somebody's knocking them out of the way every single week. Time to go look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Time to get your setup book out. Time to go look in the
Or
mirror and
make-
say, you know what? Maybe this is not the guy knocking me out of the way's problem. This is my problem.
Yeah. Instead of getting mad at him, why am I in the way?
Why am I in the way? Right.
Yeah. And those are them tough conversations you have to have with yourself.
That we've all had.
Well,
Nobody,
anybody
like you
that-
said, nobody is immune to it.
No.
We've all had it. So
You've been able to build, from being young and hanging around the shop, hanging around racing. You get a little bit older, you get a little bit more involved. Your knowledge base gets broader and broader and broader. You start to, see business. What am I going to do to have the life that I want versus living the life that I want? Like, how do I marry the two of those? You get into NASCAR, you get out, you get into business, and you're a very good, and I would probably say, and be factual, shrewd businessman in that you see things just as a black and white kind of issue of business, but that's what's made you successful. What you're very diverse. What are some of the businesses that you own and run? And we see them on Slate's car, we see them on, on the TV and everything. But what I think a lot of people don't understand is, and you just said, one day I want to have my own race team.
Yeah.
And, you've got cars that are, that run dirt, that are wildly successful. You're in asphalt modifieds, but you've been able to form a foundation, a structure that you had a vision for many years ago that you brought to fruition. What are some of the businesses that you run, whether it's out of passion or out of just business necessity?
The real estate side and the real estate construction, I kind of blend the two because I put a lot more emphasis on it because I'm passionate about it. I do really enjoy the real estate because it's kind of you against the world. Like love and real estate, there's no rules, right? And those two things, you can kind of you're playing a market really, and you can kind of go head to head with the market.
I just caught that.
What?
No rules and love and real estate. It took me a second.
I love listening to Ben tell these stories because, and here's the thing you have to understand: the people that are watching this,
they've censored me before.
It's like me and a guy were talking about knowing Ben. I enjoy the stories more because I know Ben. Right. So I want people to be able to relate to what he's saying. Like I like listening to Ben because he is overwhelmingly successful in his real estate stuff. But when I hear Ben go in and talk to other real estate people that say, "Oh, you can't do that," and he goes, "Well, hold my beer."
Yeah.
That kind of stuff where he's like, they're like, "Oh, that's not how that works," and he's like, "Well, that's what I just did."
Right.
So anyway,
it's kind of
go
like
ahead. That's where he goes. That's what he's talking about. I guess with no rules,
just no box. Don't be in a box because there's not one. There isn't. There really isn't. And I didn't go to school for anything really. It's just experience. And you make a mistake, but just do something even if I had to do something even if it's wrong. Like how do you know what to do? You don't. Nobody does. And I've had some good conversations with Tommy about just business in general and where we've gone and how. You don't get anywhere by being scared.
Yeah.
And if you know that and you want to go somewhere, if you have that in there, you got to just stop and get rid of it before you move your feet. It's just, there's not a bad move. There's no bad moves. It's like, what if it don't work? Same with a setup on a car.
Well, you just learned it.
Well, we just learned that shit don't work, but we're getting closer to a solution because we checked a box. So don't dare stay the same. We're not fans of mediocrity.
Yeah.
At all. Like, we despise the shit.
Yeah.
And you want to move up. You always want to move forward. And a lot of that, it's the same. Like I treat the business stuff the same way as my mentality. It's not prejudiced, and I don't care if it's a race car or if it's a house or a commercial building. It's all kind of look black and white, like you said. It's like there's no rules. We want to get here, we're going.
You do a lot with mobile home stuff, do you?
Yeah, we're pretty big footprint in manufactured housing, new and used mobile homes. We sell them, move them for people. We have a service that we just transport them.
That's the Hustler, right? That's what
and
the Hustler that's on Slate's car.
A Hustler Mobile Home Sales and Services, and we have a big customer base in North Carolina, all over the state. Really, we're not limited to the Charlotte, Mooresville area. We work all over. We got a good crew and good equipment to where we can do stuff faster than the other guys. Right? We don't want to.
Well, another cool story, and I won't say names. So when y'all were doing the hospital, what do you call it?
We do remediation, environmental remediation.
All right, and he told me a story one time about how he went in with a proposal to the hospital, and they're like, "Well, this company gave us this price. And he said, well, when they screw it up, here's my business card. And walked away. And I'm like, you said what? You did what? And then next thing you know, they call him back. Yeah. So just that mindset. So anybody, any young person that's watching this, I want them to.
Well, in business, there's
it's hard to do. It's hard.
Well,
for
there's
me.
Leaders and there's followers.
It's hard for me.
Followers just follow the.
I'm not much of a follower, but I have a problem personally carrying through stuff that Ben has taught me.
Well,
that it's tough, man.
And
it's tough.
I say, and I've said it more lately, or I've said it out loud. I probably never did for a long time. I'd tell myself 5 minutes after my funeral, is it going to make a damn, or is this going to matter? No, go get what you want while you're here, because what's going to happen, at the end of the deal,
Somebody else going to be living in your house, driving your car, everything else. Yeah. Now, you do some racing yourself.
Yep. I had to, I had to make a choice. Like, I think it was 2016. I bought my first dirt car, and my businesses were going well. And what I said was, I had to back myself down because I know how racing's it's an addiction.
It is.
Like, so I put a bit in my mouth and pulled the reins back constantly, not to go overboard. And I didn't want my racing, because I'm going to drive. I'm building this dirt car, buying this dirt car. I knew how it could take my attention away from what it needed to be on at the time. So I go Clayton Rogers, great racer, super successful racer, best friend, grew up with him. I call him. I'm like, hey, I'm getting a dirt car. And we go to a guy named Dale Barneycastle. They used to call him the Moxville Missile. Oh, and he's selling his late model. And we ride to his house and buy the car. I buy the car from him, bring it home. I start working on the car, and he's like looking at it, and asphalt truck arms are 3-link late model, and he's like, "What the
this thing's an alien.
What's going on under here? That's a lot of shocks up under there."
I remember the first time, dirt people know this, the first time I saw one of his dirt cars, there's a piece of lead mounted up here. I'm like, what? In asphalt racing, you want the lead as low as you can get it. And my man's got a piece of lead mounted up on the roll bar. Yeah. I'm like, dude, I can't relate to this.
Yeah. So he's like, what you going to do with all that? And I said, well, it's a race car. We'll play with it. And so my goal was to start driving right then. And at the same time, this is when we were doing some stuff like clinical trials. This was the same time with the remediation side. Or I think it was right after. It was actually right after.
You had a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah. And I had some information out about a company I started, Signal Hygiene Services and environmental stuff. And I was trying to build that business. And it happened really quick. So the timing of it was like, in my mind, okay, my businesses are good. I'm going to go and race every weekend or twice a week, right? Learn how to do this, learn how to drive these cars. And I get a contract with a big healthcare company and become a vendor. So it was like, okay, I'm not racing now no more. That was what I planned. But the other thing is when you got, as you get older, you learn momentum, you kind of don't get in the way of momentum.
Yeah.
There's things that are happening, and you kind of, it's tough to know. I could have, obviously I'm not going to say no to that, but I knew that the commitment, there's no way I'm going to be 100% at building this business because it's a unique, it's 20, there's no off days as a healthcare vendor, whether it's for, and we were doing construction, contracting projects, pretty much anything. As far as service, we were in that wheelhouse as that's what we had proposed and ended up working out. But I looked at, I had to make a decision. Okay, I'm not driving, and I have this car there. So I'm good friends with Harold Hawley. And Harold knows I built this dirt car. And he's like, bro, what are you doing with your race car? And I was like, I'm working. I'm like 7 days a week. I haven't had time to think about it. It's in the corner. And he has a shop. It's the Rum Runner shop for Joey Coulter that's in Troutman, not far from where my shop is. And they had different people. They had a consulting deal going on at the time for dirt racing. And they had a kid up there, guy, Kyle Pierce, that was running some super late models. And he goes, hey, man, if your car's just sitting there, this kid, when they're not running supers, he would be somebody good to put in it. And I said, well, I don't have time to entertain the idea. You know, I obviously want to be a part of it. But for me to agree to something, like, yeah, I can field a car or do anything with it was not realistic.
Right.
So I tell him what the deal is, and he's like, well, they can help a little bit, you know, or a lot, really. And so we ended up, I met up with the guy, and then he started driving the car. Excuse me. And I would, you know, go anytime the car went, I would go, and we would race like Elkin. And right out of the box, he ran pretty good in the car. And then we ended up getting different cars and things like that and raced more. We went and ran Charlotte and ran decent at the 100 with Kyle. And then Kyle wanted to, and I was running 604 crates, crate motors, what they were. Kyle wanted to pursue super late models, which he had already had experience doing it. So we didn't leave on back, you know, we went separate ways,
Yeah.
but it wasn't, you
Well,
know,
you
I
grow up
wanted
and you grow
to,
apart.
I knew what I was willing to do. You know, I looked at it like this, and I still do today. At the time, you know, everything was less, obviously, money dollar-wise, but ratios are what's important, you know. We could run for $2,000 or $1,200 or $5,000 or $10,000. Those were the price, right? You know, the areas of what the winnings were for a crate car and the cost to do it. It was a smaller tire bill, and the motors were less than what a rebuild on a super late model. So I'm going, you want to go do what? You know, super, they're badass, but it was like, I'm not doing it. And I'm like the owner, right? So I'm thinking about the budget too.
Frontal lobe.
Frontal lobe.
Frontal
This
lobe.
is a speech I get all the time about the modifieds.
Yeah.
He's like, why do you do that?
Yeah, don't, you know, don't.
You
burn
lose
your-
how much every
stop-
week?
Oh, yeah, stop doing that. Stop that bleeding, please. You know, it hurts. But, you know, it's, so, you know, he went and did that. And then I had some cars without a driver, and I'm still working. This is probably in 2018, and my businesses are growing. You know, I'm growing. I'm doing everything I can to grow. And, you know, full on expansion at from the real estate to all businesses. And Brandon Overton's driving at this time for Harold and the Coulter family. And Harold calls me. He's like, hey, bro, what you doing with your late model? You know, he's like, I got Brandon's brother, Cody. He's running some 602, 604 stuff. What are you doing? You know, being the matchmaker type deal. So he puts us together, and Cody comes up and drives one of the Rocket. There's a Rocket chassis that I had. Wins in it, we sell the car. Comes up and runs a couple races, and another one wins in it, we sell the car. I'm liking this. I'm like, we're
New business model.
making money, you know, and winning, getting trophies and making money. How do you beat that?
Yeah.
So we bought, you know, a little bit of both, some new cars, and he raced for a few years doing that. And we had a lot of success, had a ton of fun. He lived in Georgia, so logistically it wasn't ideal at all. And he, you know, everybody wants to be near home.
Sure.
And that was, you know, he would go out and travel, or he would come here, and then he would actually take the cars that I owned back to Georgia and raced. And once a lot of crate stuff there. And then told him too, it's like momentum, with your businesses, he needed to keep moving. Like, how many 602 races?
Right. There's got to be growth.
604, I think, total, whether it was in my car or car that was family owned, I think in 1 year, I think he won 26 races. So, and as young as, you know, he was barely 20, I think maybe 21 or 22 years old, Cody was at the time. So I told him, you got to, you know, I'm not going to field a supercar right now. So you got to go wherever, you know, follow that momentum, don't get in the way of it. And I'd gotten sick along the same time with some, you know, I had some health issues, nothing life-threatening, but definitely just really affected quality of life, like as far as your vision and things like that. It was mold poisoning. which has caused stuff later, but I'm doing good right now. And that stuff happened. It was like the window for me to get behind the wheel and do what I wanted to do and learn to drive these cars. It kept getting delayed, you know. But I didn't look at it like that. I was like, it's just not time, you know.
Right.
And you're getting older, you know. You're in your 40s, and it's like, damn, I don't feel, you know, I can't even, you know, put a helmet on right now, or you know, before I drove, and that I got feeling better. Like 2 years ago is when I really started to feel better, and I got in a dirt car the first time, 2023, and the end of 2023 is when I first got in race cars. Guy named Nathan Walker and his family, really good people, took time to help me. You know, they raced themselves, of course, and we would take 2 cars, and they took me to my first race. And it sounds funny, but doing a lot of the things I did, like that was special. Like to be able, you look at the path and what all it did for me to be able to buy my own car without help, or you know, that was a big deal to me. Like more than people know, to own my own race team. I mean, that's the top of the list for me. Like
Right.
it overshadows everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people, oh man, that ain't that big of a deal. It is,
Mhm.
you know.
It is when you work for it.
And we ran a few races at the end of 2023, and then in the beginning of 24, I started running pretty much full time in limited late models.
Which
It
series
get-
do you run in?
It was a limited late model series is what I ran in 2024.
I mean, is there like a touring series?
There is. I wasn't doing it. I was running. You know, my first year, I just wanted to kind of run one track. I ran one track. I did go to Carolina, a couple different places, but predominantly I ran one track. Finished 4th in the points. One race and Rookie of the Year. So it was. I
Doing
was happy.
something right.
Yeah.
Don't you have a really good sponsor like on the back? It's like it's safety conscious kind of thing.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm a big safety advocate. It's
Yes.
real important to me. Like I'm always safety first,
Mm-hmm.
always. So yeah, the spoiler, it's Trojan Magnum Extra Large is what we have on the spoiler, just to promote safety.
Safety, 100%.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's just a priority of mine, you know.
Well, you want to support the brands.
Absolutely, that
that-
you could, you know, potentially.
There you go.
Yeah,
I mean, who else? Who better?
like I like Fuji,
Right.
Fiji.
what he said.
Yeah.
So
You want
that's what I drink.
the brands that you use. They support you. You support them. That's 100%.
That's the ideal situation. I mean, that's what the goal is. Yeah.
That's right. Well, and that leads me to my next question with return on investment. You do a lot of sponsorships.
Yep.
From a business standpoint, we had Kevin Powell in here.
Mm-hmm.
Did a great interview, and he
I watched that, and that was
he said something that was really interesting to me. People think they want a sponsorship, but what they really want is a donation.
couldn't be. Yeah, absolutely.
So from somebody that's got their hands in all kinds of different racing, how important is return on investment?
It's you have to have it to have any longevity to any type of agreement or program. You know, people will dip their toe in something. It's like trying a new restaurant. You know, same thing. Restaurants succeed or brands succeed because 2 things, in my opinion, it's product and service. Right? Those are the things. So I look at like a race team, whether it's mine or Bert's or my car Slate's. You got to, you know, the team and the driver have to offer whoever's funding them or whoever is a partnering. It is a partnership. It's more of a relationship than people know. And I throw the word around too. Like, oh, it's a relationship. Well, relationships, what is one? They come with boundaries, right? And if it doesn't, it's like what you said or Kevin said or Tommy, it's just a donation.
Mm-hmm.
Like we, you know, people in relationships will donate their time to a lost cause. You know, that's been going on since the beginning, right? No different now. So, yeah, you got to sell something. You got to have like a business plan. And that was mentioned in that too. And it's like consumers, like, how do you get in touch with the people that are spectators? Because without, you know, those are the most important thing at the race is the people in the stands.
Yeah.
I mean, and I really emphasize that, and I try to work with some touring series and stuff like that too. You got to have fans. I mean, they're what they pay the they're what makes it go. So
that's why Bowman Gray's always been so successful.
Well, that's why Cars is doing so well.
Cars is doing phenomenal.
Yes, it is.
And they have a fan base, and it's like people say, well, we can do this. You know, different promoters are like, you know, we're on the internet. We don't need you need fans.
You need people there.
You have to have
unfortunately in our world, outside of Bowman Gray, I'll call it a mistake. One of the mistakes or an oversight that I see a lot of tracks do is they try to make all of their money that night off the back gate.
Yeah.
And they want to have a inflated grandstand ticket. I'd rather have a discounted grandstand ticket and have 10 times the people, because you put on a good product, then they come back and watch it again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Instead of, they're coming, the modifieds are coming this weekend. Yeah, but it's going to cost me this much to get in. And I don't know, maybe I'll just stay home and watch it on TV. Give them a reason.
Right.
Give them a reason. It's like we talked about Bowman Gray. People come to Bowman Gray because there is a product there. Whether we enjoy it all the time as racers.
You know, if you like the restaurant, you go back.
You go back.
Because the food's good or the service.
Right.
Or,
I mean, how many restaurants, I'm not going to say a name, but there's a particular restaurant that we go to on a special occasion that it's expensive. It's expensive. But you know what? We take the time and we take the money.
There's
and
value.
we go because we enjoy
It's
that
not just a
experience.
price tag. It's value.
It's
is.
value.
Depth.
And so,
It is.
so you got to give the people something to come see.
We are Citrusafe, where good grilling is made better. We have prided ourselves in being the industry pioneer for safe grill cleaners. Our citrus-powered grill cleaner spray paired with our nylon bristle brushes is all you need when it comes time to clean your grill. We strive to not only save you fuel, but also avoid the dangers associated with ingesting metal wire grill brushes. Citrusafe is available at major retailers nationwide, from Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace, Walmart, and many more. We also are available online on Amazon.com. Citrusafe, great for all grills.
Yeah. No, this is a really, really good story that I tell it at least once a year to somebody. I was 15. We were in Michigan for the cup race. And you could go in the bar, or we did. You could sit at the bar in those days and drink beer at 15. I don't know if you weren't supposed to, but it was the normal thing.
Part of the culture.
It was what I did. And I'm sitting beside George, and he had a cigar, but it wasn't lit. And we're sitting there in the hotel bar before we go to the room. You know, we just went to the bar. And before he still does it now. Like, okay, let's go over here. Well, before you do anything, the first thing you do is you light your cigar. I said, I'm going to go to the room and get a shower, and to get ready to go eat or go out wherever we're going. And I stand up from the bar. And George stands up, and the bar's getting crowded, right? And he goes to light his cigar, and this guy, we're tight. This guy with really long, curly hair kind of turns his head, and his hair hits George in the face. And he's there with the cigar here and the lighter. And I look at him, and he looks at me, and he puts the lighter in the guy's hair. In his hair, he had hairspray or whatever. It made the sound. And I'm like immediately laughing. And George never cracks a smile. And he starts going like this. And the guy's going, hey, what are you doing? He goes, your hair was on fire. I'm just putting it out. And the guy says, thanks. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And it stinks so, burnt hair smell. But you had to be, you didn't have to be there, but his reaction was no reaction. George's after it was done. He gets the guy's hair put out, and he's like, where do you want to eat later? It was just
that nonchalant.
Yeah. And that, stuff like that happened on the regular.
George, there's a lot of stories and I'll say, I bet he never cracked a smile. And Ben said, well, he didn't say anything funny. Why would he?
Right.
And I'm over here busting the gut. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you write your book, you're gonna have to have a whole Ben chapter.
Ben Gable. We'll call it
Yeah,
Gable.
the Gable chapter.
The Gable chapter. Yeah, the Gable chapter.
We just had a lot. We had a lot to. There's a lot still to. There was a lot to cover.
Yeah.
And you made like 3 attempts to plug my companies, and we just bypassed them. Like I bypassed them myself because we were caught up in something. But the Hustler Mobile Home Sales is the brand. Like through the racing that we are trying to promote with Slate's Racing. It's on his car, and we're interested in marketing with other people too. It's not solely my companies, and Slate's.
Well, I'm glad that people are getting to put a face with a name.
Yes.
Because Slate's been on social media all year, Ben Gable Properties, Ben Gable Enterprises, Hustler Mobile Homes, Clayton Mobile Homes. And so now, because I'll tell this real quick, I remember the really cool story about this is Tony Uri Jr. built me a car, which he'll be on, he's scheduled to be on next week. So he built me a car. I had a car from Fury at the time. And I won the championship at Bowman Gray in 16, 17, and 18 in that car. And Tony said, I want to build you a car for Bowman Gray. And I said, we just won 3 straight championships and 20 races in 3 years. Why? I want to build you a car specifically for Bowman Gray. And what that means is Bowman Gray runs a 10-inch tire so you can build your suspension a little wider and still be within the perimeters. I said, okay, fine. Ben is in that limbo of I want to race. I don't know if I do. What am I going to do? And so Ben says, I want to buy that car. I'm going to make a 602 modified out of it. And he wanted to race. So I sell the car to Ben. And I was going to put it together and timeline it. It didn't. Yeah. So anyway, Ben ends up with the car. And one of the guys that was affiliated with Ben at the time gets the car pretty much put together. And it was, let's see, this is 25. So the beginning of 24, right before the season started in 24, Ben calls me and he says, hey, I want to field a car at Bowman Gray. Well, my first thought is why in the world would you want to do that? And he said, no, you don't understand. I want Slate to drive it. So we put my motor and transmission and seat in it. And Ben didn't give us the car back, but we housed the car. So the car that Slate's driving is the car that I won 16, 17, and 18 championship with.
Right.
So the car came back home. But that's the car that Ben owns and Ben pays the expenses, well, the damages and whatnot, but he provided the car. So I'm glad that now people, when they hear Ben Gable, when they hear Slate say Ben Gable, now they can put a face with it. So
100%. And that's a face too. That's a that's a face.
I just hate his hair. It's growing back out a little bit. But there at one time it was really exciting. Really exciting. Him and Devin, he wasn't quite Devin level, but it was. But you had the hat, so it did the.
That's pretty impressive,
isn't it?
That's special.
Yeah. If he was in a storefront window, people would walk by and say, "I'll take 2 of those." I mean, that's.
I wish y'all could see Devin right now. He's a good shade of red right now.
We could literally talk for all day about stories and stuff. So we had to take care of the housekeeping, the business side, and the background. But now that people have the concrete's laid, next time you come on, then we can have a lot of fun.
And with all your brands, you can find all your brands on all of Slate's merchandise. That's on racefangear.com, which is, again, cool car. I love the gold plate, the gold gold number.
The glitter.
I love that.
Yeah. And I'm getting more people sending me pictures and stuff of diecast. They're receiving the small one.
Yes.
They're receiving their small diecast. So
they're starting to come in.
Starting to come in. Cool.
Okay.
Cool.
Excellent. So Tommy just said that Thursday he's going to go pick up all the ones that I guess pre-orders or everything that we'll have access to. Yeah. So keep an eye out on Race Fan Gear for those.
Will there be enough that we can take some to sell at the racetrack? Did you allot for any of them? The 164s? Okay. Okay. Well, maybe so. So let me know when you get them and we'll have them for sale at Dominion this weekend. Yeah.
We need to set something up where somebody can win an autograph one.
We can do that.
Maybe we'll think about it in the next show. We'll figure out how we can do that. But So Dominion this upcoming weekend.
Dominion, one of my favorite tracks, man. I talked to Steve Britt yesterday, really good friend of mine. It is one of the premier short tracks in America.
You talked to him about the road race?
We don't even talk about it anymore because we know what has to happen,
Okay.
and that's the money.
Yeah.
It's bottom line is the money. But just how excited Dominion and their facility and their management is to have their smart race there. They said that's one of their races they look forward to all year, and we do too because it's just.
I'm assuming it's probably somewhere
awesome.
around 7 o'clock Saturday,
More
something
likely.
like that. If,
and you can catch it on Flow.
if you're in Virginia,
yeah,
I mean, make a point to go out there. Like Bert said, great facility,
it's awesome.
good management. They put on a great race and it's super
It's
fast
built
track.
for modifieds.
Yeah,
First time I went there, I was like, you got to get a modified race here.
Yeah.
So
So try and make a point. It's early fall, the weather's good. No better time to go check out a race.
Yep.
If you can't, Flow Sports will have it on. Check it out on Flow. But as always, we'd like to thank everybody with Citrusafe for providing us this wonderful studio and opportunity to have frontal lobe people like Ben come in. And,
yeah,
we'll be next week is Tony Uri Jr.
Tony Uri Jr. and his son Peyton are supposed to be.
Yeah, that's gonna be cool.
He put it on his schedule. I haven't talked to him lately. He's doing the new thing now with GMS.
Right.
So he's
Lot to
staying.
talk
He's
about.
doing. Yeah, he's doing
Lot to talk
extremely.
about.
He's extremely busy right now, and I'm trying not to bother him. But they're scheduled to be here. So
Awesome. Okay.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, as always, we appreciate it. We appreciate all the comments, the likes, the views. We're going to get Ben to sign the panel here in just a second. But make sure and tune in next week. Hopefully we can talk about the trophy you bring home
I
from the
hope
Smart
so,
Race.
man. Hope so. If I can get
All right.
my first win of the year on the Smart Tour at Dominion, be a feather in the cap. So.
I told you you're going to win Franklin County.
You
I
did
called
say
that last week.
You
yeah.
did say that. Well, if you don't mind, I'd rather get Dominion out of the way too.
That's fine too. I just have a feeling about Franklin County. So, all right, we're going to try and figure out what other races Bert's going to win
All
this
right.
year. But we will be back with you next week, and we look forward to it. Thanks as always for tuning in.